This year's Oscars introduced the first new category in 24 years, that being Best Casting. But do you know what was the newest category before that? That's right, it was Best Animated Feature. To celebrate the 25th anniversary of Best Animated Feature, I decided there's no better time than now to rank all 25 Best Animated Feature winners, from Shrek to our most recent winner, K-pop Demon Hunters. This list is my personal thoughts and opinions on these films. Don't be too mad if I rank a film a little higher or a little lower than you personally did. I did grow up on half of these winners, so keep that in mind as well. But I've rewatched many past winners in anticipation for this video. With all of that said, let's dive straight into this ranking. Number 25, Toy Story 4. In last place, we have the fourth installment in the Toy Story franchise. Easily the worst winner for me and lackluster compared to the original Toy Story trilogy. It follows the toys as they go on a road trip as Woody and newcomer Forky get separated and reunite with Bo Peep, as Buzz and the other toys try to find them. Toy Story 4 adds many new characters alongside the already established characters, leading to most toys aside from Woody, Buzz, Bo Peep, and Forky to be underutilized and having nothing much to do. The short length doesn't allow the dozens of characters in the film to be fleshed out or continue newer pre-existing storylines. The new characters are underwhelming and feel unnecessary aside from Forky, and the story is whatever compared to Toy Story 3's. Speaking of Toy Story 3, that was the perfect ending for the franchise. Everything was concluded beautifully, which makes the existence of this film feel so unnecessary. Nothing interesting is introduced here, and it was just made for money, which it did make. The animation and voice cast are the standouts of the film. Pixar usually never missing on these fronts. Toy Story 4 isn't a bad movie, it's just okay. None of the films on this list are. It's just the most underwhelming and disappointing out of all films, that's all. A decent little animated movie, but won't leave much impact on you. Hopefully Toy Story 5 will be better, but I'm not expecting much from it. Number 24, Brave. Pixar's 2012 princess adventure movie, set in Scotland. It follows Princess Merida as she doesn't want to marry one of the princes of the kingdom, and after her mother is turned into a bear, she has to save her from this curse and find herself. Compared to the rest of Pixar's filmography, Brave is one of their safest and least interesting films, offering a fine princess story that would be acceptable from Disney, but lacks its full potential and feeling like a lesser version of Tangled. Again, the animation and voice cast are great, but the story follows lots of tropes of classic Disney princess movies to a T, save for Merida not being a damsel in distress. Merida's a fun character and cool protagonist, and better than the rest of the characters in the film, and the highlight of the film alongside the Scottish setting though. I just wish this film were a little more bizarre and out there. Being a bit more predictable would make this film a lot more rewatchable, as this is probably the least rewatchable film on this list. Still a decent film that kids will love, but just doesn't do that much for me compared to upcoming films. Number 23, Big Hero 6. Disney's superhero film about a young boy who, with the help of a robot named Baymax and a team of other superheroes, team up to stop a supervillain who killed his brother. Released during the 2010s, the peak for superhero movies, Big Hero 6 offers a similar experience to most Marvel and DC films at the time for kids. A great story with great visuals, and emotional at times as well. But compared to other superhero films, it's vastly inferior to them and unmemorable for the most part. Baymax is a standout, a funny and unique character that even a decade later is memorable and recognizable compared to the humans he's with. Heron and the other superheroes are fun and each offers something in the film, but this film is a blur when it comes to the middle. Only the beginning and ending leave an impact on you. Let's talk about the biggest problem though, the twist villain of Professor Callahan, aka Yokai. Disney had a problem with their animated films of having twist villains that come suddenly out of nowhere and hardly do anything that makes them competent villains overall. And although Callahan isn't the worst of them, he's just underwhelming in the end, leading to a fine ending, but one that could have been better or more interesting if more developed. Big Hero 6 is overall a good Disney movie with a few specific things that help it stand out, and being one of the only superhero movies meant strictly for kids, which is nice to see. But you definitely won't hear someone say this is their favorite Disney animated movie. Also, how did the Lego Movie not only not get in that year's Oscars for Best Animated Feature, but win? That would have been one of the most unique and best wins in the category. but the Academy chose safe picks instead. Number 22, Encanto. Disney's 2021 musical fantasy film. It follows Mirabel Madrigal, whose family each has magical powers aside from her. But after these gifts begin to fade away, she goes on a journey to find out why this is happening. Another Disney film I'm not the fondest of, especially since it's a musical, but for the most part, Encanto is a pretty solid ride, and even though I didn't enjoy most of the songs. It's more of a film about family trauma and the many different ways of dealing with it, and there are some pretty good characters in the film. It looks pretty solid, and while it isn't the most interesting and captivating story I've seen in an animated film, it gets the job done like most Disney animated films do. There really isn't an antagonistic force in the film, so the stakes aren't as high as they should be, and you don't feel the urgency to solve the crisis like you would see in other films. But still solid. The lasting legacy of the film is probably We Don't Talk About Bruno. As like Big Hero 6, the film isn't the most memorable or unique, and won't be someone's favorite animated movie, but it does attempt to do a few interesting things throughout. This film definitely isn't for me, but if you enjoyed it, then hey, good for you. Number 21, Inside Out. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of this film compared to everyone else. Inside Riley's head, her emotions control her actions as she moves across the country and she grows older. The best looking film so far. I really like the idea of these emotions controlling Riley in this massive world around her, and each emotion is unique and their relationship with one another is cool to see. But as the film progresses, we focus much more on joy and sadness, while anger, fear, and disgust are utilized less and less as the film goes on. Inside Out does a good job of showing how unstable these emotions in our adolescent years are. And despite being a relatively small film, the world building is great, and the voice cast is amazing as well. The emotions having amazing voice actors, and Richard Kind being the standout as Bing Bong. Also, Kyle MacLachlan plays the dad, extra points for that. But Inside Out never really connected with me though. It also felt a little too shallow and empty at times, and it feels like more substance could have been added at the end of the day. Disney's best animated feature run in the 2010s are some of my least favorite wins, as many animated features were snubbed or just nominated because Disney's one of the biggest companies around, and most of their films are solid but not special. I still really liked Inside Out, and the ideas and concepts they brought to the table as well. And the ending really hits hard and is the highlight of the film for me. But in the end, isn't one of my favorite animated movies. Number 20, Frozen. Yet another Disney film. Frozen follows basically every single trope Disney and Pixar movies from the 2010s had. A reinvention of a princess movie, plenty of songs, a twist villain, it has all of that. But out of those films, it is a better watching experience for me. It follows the princess of a kingdom, Anna, who embarks on a journey to find her older sister Elsa after she releases magical ice powers that freeze the kingdom. Overall, Frozen is a good animated movie for kids. The songs are catchy and memorable, the standout being Let It Go, of course, and the animation is solid. The ice and snow effects being the best looking parts, of course, with Elsa and her powers. Frozen subverts standard princess tropes with Elsa and Anna being foils to each other, with their own goals and plans that change as the film progresses. The other characters of Kristoff, Sven, and Olaf being fun and interesting as well. Han sucks as a twist villain, one of the worst ones I've seen in film. Him doing nothing of substance before or after the reveal, and just being there because the film needs some sort of villain. Again, I don't have the most to say about this film. Every aspect of it is solid, but nothing too special. It gets the job done, just like the rest of the Disney and Pixar movies from this time. Number 19, K-pop Demon Hunters. The latest winner on this list as of now, Sony Picture Animation and Netflix's film follows a K-pop girl group Huntrix, who are secretly demon hunters as well. And once a boy band emerges that rivals their careers and are secretly demons wanting to take over the world, the three girls must stop them. Made by the same people who made the Spider-Verse movies, you can tell as the animation is jaw-droppingly gorgeous and is so unique compared to most other animated films. The best as of now and visually appealing the whole way through. K-pop Demon Hunters brings all aspects of Korean culture to a wide array of audiences, from food, art, and of course, music. The songs from this film were everywhere this summer, Golden going crazy everywhere you went, and Soda Pop being my personal favorite. Lee Byung-hun plays the Demon King, that's also cool as well. But Rumi, Mira, and Zoe are overall interesting and fun protagonists to follow. having interesting and distinct backstories and personalities that really help them stand out. Can't really say the same about the other characters. Aside from the leader of the Saija boys, Jinnu, the other characters are just whatever, and they only stand out because of their designs. The biggest problem with the film is the story. It's just a bare bones story with no substance or interesting twists or turns. You can tell what's going to happen next the whole way through. This makes this a very rewatchable film since it's not complex. Great for kids, as we saw this broke streaming records all across the world. K-pop Demon Hunters was a really fun watch the whole way through, with not a single dull or boring moment throughout. But it's pretty basic and you don't leave it with much aside from a few catchy songs in your head. It was a really nice experience watching this movie though. Number 18. Happy Feet. Alright, now, I know lots of people will be mad. Many people consider this the worst animated feature winner of all time. It's the lowest rated on Letterboxd. But I disagree. This section is just me defending my thoughts on the film. It follows Mumble, a penguin whose tribes are known for their amazing singing. But Mumble can't sing. Instead, he dances, as he tries to uncover what's going on with the declining fish population. Happy Feet's a fun watch. It's nice to see penguin representation in movies, as they're an extremely marginalized group of animals in film despite their immense popularity. Happy Feet's a jukebox musical, using pre-existing songs, and since most of the songs are already good, it's a fun time watching these penguins sing along to classic songs. While the CGI animation doesn't look the best today, it's still interesting to look at and looks pretty solid for the most part, and holds up in the live action segments as well. There are surprisingly deep themes for a kids movie about the effects of environmental destruction, along with the flaws of religious hierarchy. Something you don't notice as a kid, but stick out once you're older. The original draft of the film was much darker, but it was changed to be more kid-friendly and for a widespread audience. George Miller directed this film, and you can actually see similarities between this film and the Mad Max movies, which seems crazy on the surface, but analyzing it a bit deeper makes it stand out more. The characters are fun and the voice acting is solid, and the story is pretty good as well, although not much of anything happens for the first half of the film. Happy Feet's overall just a fun film, not meant to be taken very seriously. Something both kids and adults can really enjoy. Did it deserve to win Best Animated Feature over Cars and Monster House? Absolutely. And it gave George Miller an Oscar win, which is great to see. But Best Animated Film of 2006? Yeah, no way. Happy Feet is still a great movie in my books, even if you don't agree, but it's a movie I loved as a kid and still love just as much to this day. Number 17. Soul. Pixar's first film this decade, it follows Joe, a teacher and wannabe pianist, who after an accident his soul is separated from his body, as he tries to get back to his body in time for his big break as a musician. Soul is a relatively small-scale film with some of Pixar's most unique animations, and it's a great ride. Soul tackles many existential themes alongside incorporating jazz music into the plot of the film, making it very appealing to adults more so than kids. Joe is the down-to-earth and relatable protagonist thrown into a bizarre world and reacts the same way we would if we were thrown here as well. The highlight for me is the animation, especially in The Grade Beyond, as it's some of Pixar's best animation that highlights the story and ideas of the film. Soul is a movie about truly discovering yourself and what makes you happy, really emphasizing those points throughout, up until the very end. The biggest problem with this film, to me, is that it's pretty forgettable though. Large portions of the film just aren't that memorable, primarily the second act, which feels pretty generic and is just meant to push the plot forward. But in the end, Soul is one of Pixar's most unique films on a visual aspect and when it comes to its themes, feeling very similar to the studio's earlier films. 5 years later, it feels like most people have forgotten about this gem, but it's worth a watch, especially if you want a more mature animated film that's also appealing to a younger audience as well. An animated film that really keeps you thinking after watching it, something I do have to give it some respect to. Number 16. The Boy and the Heron. The latest film from Studio Ghibli co-founder Hayao Miyazaki, The Boy and the Heron takes the magic and simplicity from early films from the studio, while making it for a more modern audience to enjoy and fall in love with. Beautifully hand-drawn, the film follows a boy named Mahito who moves to the countryside with his father after the death of his mom, and after following a peculiar heron, discovers a hidden fantastical world that he becomes a part of. A very simple yet effective film, Studio Ghibli creates some of the best anime films of all time, and this movie joins the ranks of the studio's classics. Every frame of this film is gorgeous to look at, whether in the peaceful countryside or the many parts of this mystical world. Mojito is a simple protagonist, struggling to adapt to his new life and feel disconnected from his father, his new wife, and the other workers around him, and feels more at place in the world with the peculiar Heron as they work to stop some evil parakeets. The world in this old tower is the highlight of the film. Not the grandest or most magical one, it's just a magical place that brings back the wonder of being a child, and I wish we would have spent more time here than in the real world. Like Miyazaki's other films, the world building is great like always. Interesting and strange, yet appealing things in the film, such as the many birds and the vibrant oceanic world, are interesting to see. It doesn't hit quite the same as many past Miyazaki and Ghibli films. The ending is a little underwhelming, and I wish the world was expanded on a little bit more, as it lacked a little bit of human emotion that many previous films had. But Hayao Miyazaki has such a magical touch when it comes to creating films that I can't complain much. Only marvel at this impressive feat of filmmaking. Although I would have preferred Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse to have won, I can't be too mad as this is still one of the best animated films this decade, and a type of film that's impossible to replicate. Studio Ghibli creates films that are incredibly unique and one of a kind, and like most, I always wait for them to create another movie because it is nearly as spectacular as this. Number 15, Zootopia. Disney's best animated film of the 2010s. Set in an animal world, it follows a rabid cop, Judy Hopps, and con artist fox, Nick Wilde, as they team up to discover what's happening to the predator animals of Zootopia. Some of the best and most interesting world building I've ever seen in a fictional film. It seems that basically every aspect of this animal society was thought of when creating this film, along with taking real life issues such as racism and incorporating it into this world in a way kids can learn from and ones that adults can understand clearly as well. Judy and Nick are great protagonists. It's fun seeing movies where complete opposites have to work together, and their chemistry is immaculate. The story is fun, fresh, and not predictable whatsoever, making for a good watching experience the first time or on a rewatch. Zootopia is a really fun and interesting world, and the other characters are great as well. It does deal with some darker themes like racism, which is something the company hardly does anymore, but makes it even more memorable. It does suffer from some other Disney problems from around this time, twist villains and all, but it's a very well made film that is made for both kids and adults, being expanded on even further in the sequel that came out last year. Zootopia is one of the best animated films of the 2010s and a really fresh film from Disney, showing they can still make unique films that will stand the test of time even decades from now. While not the most groundbreaking, it's a fun ride the whole way through and enjoyable to all as well. Number 14, Coco. Pixar's 2017 film was already a classic on release. Taking place in Mexico, it follows a boy named Miguel who loves music despite his family's hatred of it, as he's accidentally transported back to the land of the dead and has to go back with the help of his great-great-grandfather Hector and reverse the band. Coco does an amazing job of combining Mexican culture and images into a Pixar film in such a spectacular way that it introduced the whole world to Mexican heritage. One of Pixar's most vibrant and visually appealing films, the people and places of the Land of the Dead are a great representation of Mexican culture, heavily inspired by Dia de los Muertos, and in not only teaching a wider audience about these things, but it also stays true to the culture it's based on as well. Miguel is a fun and charming protagonist, another one trapped in a strange and peculiar world, but one he fits into really well. Hector is also a fun side character. He and the rest of Miguel's deceased family are great and interesting characters that help enrich this world a whole lot. The film also gets quite emotional near the end as the twists emerge, and Remember Me really hits hard, surprisingly for an animated movie for kids. The conclusion is one of Pixar's best, even with the twist villain. Ernesto de la Cruz is actually a great example of one, going from a world-renowned celebrity to a pathetic loser by the end. The relationship between him, Miguel, and Hector being near perfect. Coco does suffer from some parts of the narrative being duds, and many songs being just whatever, but it does leave quite an impact on you after watching. Not only a great representation of Mexican culture to a global audience, it shows why Pixar is one of the best animation studios and how animated films aren't just for kids, but for adults as well. One of their richest films when it comes to themes about family and the power of music, Coco is already a classic film from the 2010s that will still hold up decades into the future. Now we're getting to the truly amazing animated feature winners. But before we do that, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this in the future as we get closer to 1,000 subscribers. And any support like that really helps the channel a bunch. Anyways, with all that said, let's dive into the second half of the video. Number 13, Wall-E. This dystopian sci-fi romance movie follows the titular robot Wall-E as he goes from a deserted, uninhabitable Earth off into space with a more futuristic robot named Eve. Wall-E the film doesn't have much of a story or characters at first, as we're stuck in this barren wasteland as humans destroyed this planet and just left it. Wall-E contains themes of environmental destruction, the dangers of AI, the faults of consumerism, and sedentary lifestyles, concepts that are more relevant today than ever as these problems continue to persist. Despite never speaking and just beeping, Wall-E is the protagonist you grow deeply connected to as you see his day-to-day life with his cockroach friend. Once Eve's introduced, despite how bizarre it seems, the romance between the two opposite robots is cool and fascinating to see, but feels so human, humanizing these robots and showing how complex machines can be. Whether in space, on the deserted Earth, or the spaceship that holds the obese humans, Wall-E is an animated film that really focuses on showcasing the gorgeous animation of the film. The villain of Otto, an AI who disobeys its human creators in favor of its own desires, is not only one of the best villains in any animated movie, but one who's more relevant than any other antagonist on this list. As ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, and many other AIs begin to dominate in today's society, and humans beginning to use it for practically everything, Wall-E foresaw the dangers this technology holds and how us humans have to learn this as soon as possible, even though that probably won't be the case. Feeling quite different compared to any Pixar movie, Wall-E is a film that holds up and hits harder right now compared to when it was first released in 2008. A bleak yet beautiful film which on the surface seems basic and simple, but is one of the deepest films you'll ever see. Wall-E defies the limits of a kids movie as a sci-fi classic for all. It feels cold during many parts, but its dark themes make this film stand out and will continue to do so for who knows how long. Number 12, Up. Pixar's very next film after Wall-E, Up follows an old widower named Carl and a Boy Scout named Russell who travel to South America in Carl's house carried by balloons, as they encounter talking dogs, exotic birds, and an elderly hunter. Despite how crazy this film sounds on the surface, Up is one of Pixar's most heartwarming films that excels at practically everything it tries to accomplish, and yet another classic from the studio. From the very beginning, you know this film is going to be special. One of the most heartbreaking moments in any film, the beginning with Carl and his wife, as they meet, begin to date, get married, grow old together, and her tragically dying still hits hard despite this being the very beginning of the film. It is really hitting hard and leaving you at tears. You understand Carl pretty well, and want him to go to Paradise Falls in honor of his wife, and you're rooting for him the whole way through. The contrast between him, Russell, Talking Dog Doug, and Bird Kevin creates an amazing team that shouldn't work, but does. A fun and adventurous journey. It escalates even more once Carl meets his childhood hero Charles Muntz, who went insane searching for a bird like Kevin, and whose army of dogs go with him the whole way through. I haven't mentioned voice cast for a while, but Ed Asner as Carl and Christopher Plummer as Charles are perfect for their respective roles and really bring the emotion and drama in this grand movie. Rest in peace to both of these legends. The conflict leaves you at the edge of your seat the whole time, with an immensely satisfying conclusion and heartwarming ending, as even at his old age, Carl finds a new meaning in life and shows you no matter how different you are to others and how old you can still find new meaning in life and what it means to live your life to the fullest. Full of many different contrasting emotions throughout, Up is yet another gem from this ever so great studio, packing more drama and comedy than most films from back then or now, and a film that feels fresh to this very, very day. Glad it received the Best Picture nomination when it was released, as it truly deserved it. Number 11, Rango. A love letter to westerns from the past and fans of the genre, Rango follows a chameleon who, after getting stranded, becomes the sheriff of a desert town full of animals, as he tries to uncover what's happening to the town's drastically decreasing water supply. Rango is perhaps the most unique looking film on this list. I have never seen an animated film that looks quite like this to this very day, and this really fits the gritty and gross western setting. Probably more appealing to adults than kids, Rango pays homage and tribute to many classic westerns from the past, and combines the usual tropes with an animal story that results in a unique film like no other. Basically a revisionist western if you think about it. Naming himself Rango, this chameleon lies himself into becoming in charge of the law in town, lying to himself and others into becoming a courageous cowboy like Clint Eastwood or Gary Cooper, even though he's a coward deep down. The rough designs of the animals fit perfectly in this rundown town, with the voice cast being great, especially Johnny Depp's performance. Rango is not a very complex story. If you've seen a couple westerns, you probably know where the story is going to go, but it's still satisfying to watch. Rattlesnake Jake, though, what a terrifying villain. His name still strikes fear into my heart. Rango is such a unique animated film from Gore Verbinski. There's literally no one like it. If you're a fan of westerns, you're sure to enjoy the film, especially if you're older. And even if you aren't, the visuals of this film are sure to make up for it. Number 10. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. As we enter the top 10, we have Guillermo del Toro's retelling of this classic tale. His version of Pinocchio set in fascist Italy feels like it has more soul and emotion compared to any previous adaptations of this iconic tale. Most people have probably seen the Disney version of the film or another version, about a wooden boy who comes to life and goes across a journey encountering strange things and beings along the way. But two things help this version of the film stand out. The first is the stop motion animation. Stop motion animation is incredibly difficult to pull off and probably the most tedious form of animation to pull off. Every frame of Pinocchio is perfect though and eye-catching throughout. Not a single moment wasted as it brings you into this fantastical world. The second is the setting. Fascist Italy is a setting few want to tackle, especially Western media. But Del Toro combines historical events involving Benito Mussolini's rule of Italy and the problems of it alongside it with the story beats and characters of the original 1883 novel, in this crisp retelling that offers a new experience to this already classic tale. With an immensely talented voice cast, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is a beautiful piece of art that, although a tad predictable, offers enough unique twists and turns along the way to still make this century-old tale appealing to audiences old and new. Guillermo del Toro is the master of bringing unique fantasy tales, whether they're old or new. And with this film, he proved he can tackle animated films alongside live-action films as well. And I can't wait to see what he has planned for the future when it comes to animation. Number 9. Finding Nemo. Yet another Pixar winner, and their first win overall, Finding Nemo follows an overprotective father whose child is kidnapped from them, as he goes on a journey to rescue them, encountering strange figures along the way. Despite the fact that this can apply to both Finding Nemo and the most recent Best Picture winner as of now, one battle after another, that's where the similarities end, as Finding Nemo is a marvelous adventure movie full of breathtaking underwater visuals and a heartwarming story as well. Just like many other 2000s Pixar movies, Finding Nemo is pretty dark at times. Marlin's wife and dozens upon dozens of kids being murdered by a predator fish at the beginning of the film, with him only being left with one egg, which would become his son Nemo. Marlin, later joined by the carefree and forgettable Dory, has to travel across the sea to find Nemo. Marlin learns to become courageous, despite dealing with sharks, anglerfish, and other deadly predators that could kill him very quickly. He learns to become brave in order to find his son. Meanwhile, Nemo is in a dentist's aquarium with the other fish there, as he tries to escape, trying to convince other fish there to do the same. Just as dangerous of a journey, Nemo goes on a similar journey as his father, albeit he's a little more reckless, but just as determined to reunite with his father. The danger involved with the film makes this one of Pixar's most captivating films, and one of their best stories as well. Like WALL-E, it also tackles themes of environmental protection, specifically aquatic wildlife and how destructive humans are towards them, as humans view them more as toys than as real beings. Visually gorgeous, especially in the underwater segments, and another great cast as well, Pixar really perfected their format early on with Finding Nemo, on creating timeless films for all ages and groups of people. Going back and forth from carefree and happy to dark and disturbing, this is yet another classic. By the way, you guys, 11 out of 25 wins in this category are from Pixar, a whopping 44% of winners. Counting Disney, that's 15 or 60% of winners. That percentage is going down year by year, as Disney and Pixar haven't won 4 years in a row at the moment. Speaking of one of those wins, number 8, Flow. This Latvian animated film from director Gins Zilbadolis follows animals in a seemingly post-apocalyptic world without humans, as they work together to survive as the water levels begin to rise as well. There is absolutely no dialogue whatsoever in this film, just the score and sound effects from the animals, but somehow, this is still an incredible film that sticks with you. The main characters of the film don't even have names. There's a cat, a dog, a big group of dogs, a capybara, a secretary bird, and a lemur. But somehow, without even speaking, just through actions alone, these animals are thoroughly developed as the film progresses, as you really get to see their personality traits, and sort of even predict their reactions depending on certain circumstances. I haven't mentioned music much in any of these films aside from the occasional score, because all of these films have good scores, but they just aren't the most memorable parts of the film. But since there's no dialogue and little sound from the environment, the score really gets to shine and flow and really helps you feel the atmosphere more and feel like you're a part of this world as well. The watercolor-esque visuals of Flow, well, flow beautifully into the world and help every little detail stand out, making the creatures of the film feel special as well as they're the last beings of life. A relatively simple story, you still feel for all of the animals as they struggle to survive, as you feel for them just like you would for humans in this situation. Every minute of this relatively short film is immensely satisfying to watch, and leaves you hungry for more at the film's conclusion, making you want to watch this film over and over again. Another immensely unique animated film, unlike anything I've seen before, Flow demonstrates how simple ideas and concepts can be elevated in a way to make it extremely fresh and new. It's really nice to see the Academy Award films like Flow as they really push the medium forward and show you that there are plenty of films released every year away from Hollywood studios that work their hardest to create animated films that connect with people. And by awarding films like Flow, not only influences future generations who want to get into animation, but how animation as a medium is one of the greatest forms of art to exist. Number 7. Ratatouille. In 2007, on the same day the first iPhone was released, Pixar released another classic film, that being their film Ratatouille. It follows a rat in France named Remy, who dreams of becoming a chef at the acclaimed chef Auguste Gusteau's restaurant in Paris, and after befriending a garbage boy there named Alfredo, not to be confused with Josh O'Connor, begin to make their way up the ladder. Another bizarre sounding film. On the surface, the concept of a rat cooking in a movie sounds disgusting and kind of boring, but Ratatouille shows that rats aren't the scum of the earth, and neither are French people, and the joys of cooking as well. Out of any film, most professional chefs consider Ratatouille to be the most accurate film when it comes to cooking, both when it comes to the environment and making the food itself, and it really shows. The food in the film looks delicious and you can almost smell or even taste it, and when the numerous chefs in the film are cooking it up, it shows audiences at a young age that even though pretty difficult, creating unique and delicious meals can be very rewarding if you put your mind to it and try hard. Most people hate or even fear rats and find them disgusting little creatures, but somehow Ratatouille shows Remy and his little cohorts as pretty kind and helpful creatures. Despite being feared by many, rats are relatively harmless little guys that don't mean much harm. The relationship between Remy and Alfredo is a fun and interesting one, as they work together to achieve their goals as they both want something bigger in life. The new head chef Skinner stands in their way, being a classic evil villain, and later food critic Anton Eagle feels the same way until the titular Ratatouille dish shows the true power food can have on people as the film wraps up on a happy note. The Paris setting is great as well, the film doing a phenomenal job of bringing you into this weird and wacky world. I've said this plenty of times already in this video, but once again, somehow, someway, Pixar delivered another animated classic with Ratatouille. Probably the most consistent animation studio, they showed the true magic of food with this film, and not to judge people based on who they appear to be, but instead who they are on the inside. Another classic from them that once again stands the test of time. Number 6. Shrek. The inaugural winner of this category, along with it technically being the only win for DreamWorks Animation, very loosely based on a children's book of the same name, it follows a bitter ogre named Shrek, after fairy tale creatures flood his swamp after the evil leader Lord Farquaad banishes them there, as he teams up with a donkey named Donkey to rescue Princess Fiona in exchange for the creatures leaving his swamp. Shrek takes many stereotypical fairy tale tropes and characters and reinvents them in such a unique way that it creates a classic animated franchise that's still beloved to this very day. The four main characters of Shrek, Donkey, Fiona, and Farquaad work perfectly in the film, with their voice actors doing a phenomenal job as well. Shrek is completely unbothered by everything around him, wanting to live by himself and in peace, but slowly opens up and gets kinder as they save Fiona and try to stop Farquaad, a classic hero's journey. Mike Myers' classic Scottish accent helping this character stand out. Donkey is the exact opposite. A loud, wisecracking animal, played by Eddie Murphy in one of his best performances, serves as the complete opposite foe to Shrek. But somehow these two strange creatures grow together and become very close by the very end. Fiona, secretly an ogre herself, isn't a stereotypical princess to be saved, but is a warrior herself and doesn't need anyone's help despite it seeming on the surface that she needs to. And her romance with Shrek is one of the most interesting ones in film. And how could we forget Farquaad, appearing to be a stereotypical villain like in classic Disney movies, but instead is a pathetic loser where nothing goes his way. The other characters like Pinocchio, the gingerbread man, and others based on classic tales are funny characters as well. And this film and script are so crazy and bizarre that you can forgive the visuals not being the best the whole way through. Probably the most bizarre film on this list. In the end, it all flows together brilliantly, resulting in not just one of the best animated movies of all time, but movies overall, alongside its sequel as well. A hilarious, special film that subverts all of your expectations from fairy tale films and tales of the past, alongside its charming world building and characters as well. Shrek the film still remains one of the best winners in this category despite being its very first winner a quarter of a century ago, and years later still holds up on a rewatch whether you're a young child or full grown adult as well. Number 5. Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Aardman features feature-length film of the classic animated shorts. It follows British inventor and cheese lover Wallace and his helpful dog Gromit as they become pest control agents, and are tasked with catching an enormous group of rabbits before the town's annual giant vegetable competition, as they discover a giant rabbit who could easily destroy the festival as well. Everyone loves Wallace and Gromit. All of their short films are amazing, and The Wrong Trousers single-handedly being my favorite short film of all time. So to see this duo get such an amazing film was amazing to see. Like I mentioned with Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, stop-motion animation is a time-consuming and tedious process, but Aardman are the kings of this type of animation, and after making 3 Wallace and Gromit shorts previously, leads to an excellent film like this. A much larger and grander story compared to the shorts, Curse of the Were-Rabbit takes everything fans of the franchise love while creating a film that appeals to a new audience and fans as well. Wallace and Gromit are as entertaining as ever, especially Gromit, and the new additions of evil hunter Lord Victor Quartermain and love interest Lady Toddy, played by Ray Fiennes and Helena Bonham Carter, respectively, are nice additions to the film and add character dynamics that are missing from the shorts. The plot of the film is relatively simple, but still very effective. The little rabbits and the massive were-rabbit itself aren't the villains of the story. That easily go to Lord Victor, a truly unlikable asshole, but just misunderstood and pretty sympathetic creatures. This film takes the magic and charm of the short and upscales it into one that really fits the big screen. Every frame once again being absolute perfection. And overall the story is a really fun ride full of fun action, and Gromit having to save the day like usual after Wallace is revealed to be the were-rabbit itself. Sometimes you just need to watch an entertaining comedy like this, while marveling at the clay figures throughout the film. It's not trying to reinvent the wheel when it comes to animation or stop-motion animation, but just shows the sheer quality of the films they create themselves. Despite lacking the dastardly Feathers McGraw, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit still stands out on its own in this wacky universe and is endlessly rewatchable. Fun the whole way through, and a prime example of stop-motion filmmaking, Aardman features showed with this film and Chicken Run the power of this medium, and how it is one of the most visually appealing and interesting forms of animation in this modern era. Number 4. Toy Story 3. It had been over a decade since the release of the first 2 Toy Story films. 2 classics in their own right due to their fun story and groundbreaking use of CGI animation. But in 2010, the third film brought so much drama, emotion, and deep themes that made it stand out in the realm of animation, as not only an amazing sequel, one of the best of all time, but one of the best films of the 2010s as well. Set 11 years after the second film, Toy Story 3 follows a grown-up Andy as he's about to head off to college, as Woody, Buzz, and the rest of the toys are accidentally donated to Sunnyside Daycare, as they navigate this strange and disturbing world as they each wonder what the future holds for them. Full of humor alongside heartbreaking drama throughout, tackling themes of growing up and how to navigate the uncertain future, Toy Story 3 tackles many adult and mature themes that kids too can understand, resulting in a similar experience for viewers watching, as all of us one day have to deal with the future as well. Woody and the rest of the toys are no longer appealing to Andy as he's all grown up, and each of the toys from the past movies wonder what purpose they serve in the future. Stick around, go to a new family, get destroyed, or go off somewhere else. What is there to do? After being thrown to Sunnyside, at first it seems like paradise, plenty of toys and an intricate society. But after Lotso reveals his true colors, things begin to turn for the worse, and it feels more like a prison than a resort. Lotso is a great villain, one of the best villains in any form of medium. A bitter toy who believes in the worst in humans and holds a deep hatred for them and the toys who love them, as he believes humans view them as disposable. His opposite views to Woody leads to them fighting against each other, as Woody fights for the greater good not only for himself, but the toys around him as well, making it very compelling. Lotso never learns despite being given numerous chances to do so, but eventually suffers a fate worse than death, deserving of this cruel bear. The new additions of the Sunnyside toys and Bonnie's toys fit in very well to the film, each being very developed and fitting into this massive world. And the third act, man, what an iconic and perfect conclusion. The incinerator scene is terrifying as this group of toys audiences have known for years could die. It is visually striking as it puts fear in the audience watching. And the ending, Andy handing his toys down to Bonnie, is perfect, straight up. There literally could not have been a better ending. The passing of the torch to the younger generation, even if it's as silly as some toys, shows how important it is to pass on passions and interests into those younger than you, as it keeps the tradition going and brings the love you had to someone else that wants it as well. Although Toy Story 4 kind of ruined this, ignoring that film, it wraps up this trilogy beautifully in a way we rarely see from big franchises and sticks with you years later. A near-perfect masterpiece, Toy Story 3 not only shows how to craft a great sequel and to end the trilogy, but a fantastical experience that can stand on its own as well, featuring some of Pixar's best characters and story with great visuals alongside it. This Best Picture nominee deserves all of the acclaim it deserved. And watching it now, no matter how old you are, you will connect with it because of its relatable themes that hold up no matter who you are. Number 3. The Incredibles. My personal favorite Pixar film, The Incredibles follows retired superhero Bob Parr and his wife Helen, former superheroes Mr. Incredible and Elastigirl, until it was outlawed, with their kids Violet, Dash, and Jack Jack as they live normal lives. But Bob slowly gets back into a crime-stopping world, as later he and his family have to save the world against an emerging villainous force. The Incredibles came out years before the big superhero boom that Iron Man and the rest of the MCU brought, but stands out as better and more unique than most of these films, and a timeless classic as well. A retro-futuristic film inspired by director Brad Bird's childhood interests, The Incredibles subverts your expectation of what a superhero film is, combining elements and concepts of the Fantastic Four with pretty dark themes similar to other Pixar films at the time. The role of The Incredibles is interesting as it shows the real-world effect of superheroes, and how sometimes that can lead to lots of harm as well, and how this affects ordinary people. Bob, Helen, and Lucius, aka Frozone, were heroes back in the day, among others, but a few small mistakes changed public on heroes leading to them being outlawed, something never seen for the most part in other DC and Marvel works. It's tough, especially for Bob, to adapt to this world, struggling to control his powers, but being given the opportunity by a mysterious group to take down a threatening Omnidroid changes his perspective. As the plot progresses, Syndrome is introduced. After being abandoned by Mr. Incredible as a kid, he grows a deep hatred for heroes, and once older he begins a genocide against superheroes. Bob discovers how many heroes Syndrome killed, and how he and his family are at risk as Syndrome wants to kill them all and replace them with technology. A very disturbing and dark concept, especially for a children's film. But once Bob and his family suit up to fight Syndrome, they show how helpful superheroes can actually be. Some of Pixar's best characters, these characters alongside Edna Mode, Mirage, and others are really fun characters that fit into this world, and the action is great as well. Perhaps the best score on this list It fits into this retro-futuristic world full of action and danger, and elevates events small and large. The Incredibles is perfect in my book, not a single flaw or irredeemable thing in sight. Take everything I've praised in all of these past Pixar movies, and all of that can apply to The Incredibles. A truly, incredible film. It combines all of the studio's signature charms and quips in this revisionist superhero film that even hundreds of superhero films later still doesn't compare to practically any other superhero film to this day. A masterpiece of a movie beloved to this day, The Incredibles is Pixar's finest in my books, and shows how even in pretty predictable and familiar genres, you can still create such a unique form of art incomparable to anything else on the market, something all forms of art should strive for. Number 2. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Not only the best Spider-Man film, but one of the best superhero and comic book adaptations of all time, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse takes comic book concepts and characters that were basically unknown to the larger world and made them iconic characters and themes on release, with the concept of the multiverse appearing in many other films, not just comic book based, to this day. The film follows a teenager named Miles Morales as he becomes a new Spider-Man of his world after being bit by a radioactive spider and his universe's Spider-Man being killed, as he teams up with other Spider-Men across the universe in order to stop Kingpin and his multiversal plan. For me, Into the Spider-Verse is the best looking film on this whole list. Sony Pictures Animation doesn't have a very strong filmography, but the innovative art style really fits this world and setting, with the art styles of the different Spideys somehow fitting together perfectly despite how strange they appear next to each other. The score of this film is great, with the soundtrack fitting perfectly into Miles' world and being one of my favorite soundtracks in films to date. Speaking of Miles, let's talk about him for a minute. A largely unknown and new character in comics, the team behind this film helped him emerge as a great Spider-Man in his own right that can exist without Peter Parker. His relationship with his parents and Uncle Davis is pretty unique and played out really well in this story. The other characters are great, Spider-Gwen and the other Spideys introduced in the second half being fun and well-developed additions as well. Despite how little screen time they have, something I forgot on rewatch, they still leave an impact and are talked about to this day. Peter B. Parker is also a fun take on this character, a pretty big loser who regains his confidence and strength as he works with Miles to stop this threat. Speaking of which, the creators of this film really understood the source material of Spider-Man and what makes these characters work so well, and take their love for the source material and adapt it into one of the most comic accurate and effective superhero films. Kingpin is also a great villain and foil to Miles. Although known now by many as a Daredevil villain, Kingpin goes back to his roots as a seemingly simple crime boss, but whose intelligence and allies allows him to cross the multiverse in order to reunite with his son and wife after they're tragically killed. A lot happens in this nearly 2-hour film, but every character and plotline is thoroughly fleshed out amazingly, subverting your expectations of what you would expect from a Spider-Man and superhero film. Into the Spider-Verse is one of the most influential pieces of animation of all time, 8 years later, whose influence we see in so many animated movies today, and reinvented familiar Spider-Man tropes in a way to help this character become more beloved. Even on its own ground, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse shows the importance of animation in film and the innovations it can bring. Although it appears to tackle more than it's capable of, every character, place, and story beat serves its purpose perfectly, and the film overall serves as a massive love letter to the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Although this film is a certified masterpiece and perfect the whole way through, there is one more film that still stands above it. This number 1 film is, to simply put it, just out of this world. No other film makes you feel more like a child, and the magic and mystery involved with it as well. Although I just watched this film for the first time over a year ago, I still feel its impact to this very moment, and just how pure and amazing this film is. Here we go. Number 1. Spirited Away. Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli's 2001 fantasy adventure film. It follows a young girl in the countryside of Japan named Sen, who after her and her parents come across a seemingly abandoned town, her parents are turned into pigs by a witch, and Sen has to work to free her and her parents and return to the human world. This movie should be put in museums across the world. It's that perfect. The hand-drawn animation is absolutely breathtaking to look at, as you're thrown into a bizarre world with Sen as you and her slowly begin to understand all of the wacky things going on and how the world works, as you also grow emotionally connected to it as well. Not a single dull moment throughout. Spirited Away is Ghibli's most, Ghibli film. A prime example of why they are so unique and iconic to this very day, and how their form of animation stands out compared to all of the rest. Every frame of this film could be a painting, whether in the bathhouse, in the sky, around the town, or switching from night to day. All of it is extraordinary to watch unfold. Miyazaki really has the talent of bringing the wonder of being a kid into his anime classics, and Spirited Away stands out as his and the studio's magnum opus. Along with dealing with themes of maturing and keeping your own identity no matter what, along with usual themes like the importance of the environment and nature and the power of kindness and friendship, the first time watching this film is an experience one will never forget. Spirited Away is quite easily for me the very best animated feature ever. It is hard to see any other film surpassing this feat. Despite cultural differences, you're bound to enjoy this film and resonate with it no matter who you are, and showing the importance of hand-drawn and animated films from Japan as well. Spirited Away shows the magic of filmmaking and what creativity can lead you to create, no matter what kind of artist you are, and shows how timeless art can be. Spirited Away is a true masterpiece of a movie, straight up. Not only the best film on this list, but maybe even the best animated movie of all time. Animation is a heavily underrated and disrespected form of media, but films like Spirited Away and the other films on this list show why animated movies are just as amazing as live-action ones. Thank you so much for watching this video. Once again, if you like this video, hit that like and subscribe button below, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts on my ranking. What films did I rate too high? What films did I rate too low? Also, let me know your personal ranking. Yeah, your personal ranking of these movies. Even if you haven't seen them all, just leave your thoughts in the comments below. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to check out one of my other ranking videos if you like this one. And hopefully, I'll see you all next time. Bye!